Linsky at full-back, Price, Connolly, Senior and Johnson the three-quarter line. It's Sculthorpe and Sinfield at half-back. The forward pack is O'Connor, Forshaw and McDermott, joint Peacock and Farrell the captain. And on the bench, Wellens, who didn't take part in last week's test, Richard Horne, Paul Anderson and Stuart Fielden. The coach is David Waite. Now the men from down under, the Australian Kangaroos. They have Lockyer at full-back, Takiri, Gidley, Lyon and McDougall is their three-quarter line, Barrett and Johns at half. Changing the forwards, Jason Riles is in for the suspended Jason Stevens. It's Buduris and Cairns the front row, Carlaw, Kennedy second row, and Brad Fittler is the loose forward and captain. And the bench, Brad Myers, who takes Stevens' number 8 jersey, Anasta, Vella and Sivanasiva. The coach is Chris Anderson. Well, there they are, the two teams. Phil Clark, the Great Britain manager, on the left. Behind him, David Waite. The mascot then, Andy Farrell and Chris Radlinski. And on the other side of the field, of course, the green and golds from Australia. Desperate traffic problems around this ground this evening, apparently. And many of the supporters outside, battling their way to get in here, will know now that the test match is about to get underway. Great Britain have been here 3 times previously and never got the job done. 73, 90 and 94. They were also one up in 1967. And remarkably, Andrew Farrell wasn't even born the last time that Great Britain held the Ashes. Destiny beckons for these men. Andy Farrell there, aiming to become the first British skipper since Frank Myler, then of St Helens, to head and lead his men to an Ashes triumph. Well, while the players meet the official party who will make their way down the two teams, let's have a word with some of the potential stars of tonight's main event. And the British know that only their very best will do.
Australia are a really good team and they're going to come back. You know, they're not world champions for nothing, they're not best in the world for nothing. The second test is going to be a lot harder than the first one.
They play the ball a lot quicker, a lot more emphasis on getting up as soon as you hit the ground and play the ball. So we've got to take a bit of that into consideration. But I know during the game I could see some signs that we're going to improve, so we'll work on that.
They'll have had a roasting this week in training, and they only were here 5 days before the first game, so they've had a good week training, and they'll be looking for a good win.
You know, we've got a big job ahead of us. I think the ground's sold out already. They've won 1-0 on us on their home soil, so you know we know we're going to have to play really well. We're certainly not happy about losing. It's the first game that I've played for Australia that we've lost, and it's not a good feeling. You know, there's a level of expectation, I guess, from within the team and from at home. So we're certainly very determined to go out and win.
Both teams will be changing, I think. I mean, the Aussies will be very disappointed with that and will be under quite a lot of pressure. As you know, being the first Aussie team in, I think, is it 50 years to lose on Ashes on British soil. So, you know, people say that pressure doesn't matter, but it does.
Bill Harrigan will have a large bearing on this game. I think the fact that he plays a more expansive and faster up-tempo sort of game will suit us a lot more. It was a small 10 metres the other day, and I think that really did suit the Great Britain side. They are probably a lot more bigger than what we are, probably a lot more physically dominant than what we are in a lot of regards. But we prefer to move the ball and play a little bit more up-tempo. And the other night, the conditions probably didn't suit us, but as I said, they were just too good for us on the night.
Well, there is the man who many will say is under more pressure even than the players. The match referee, Bill Harrigan. He has, in many ways, set his stall out, the referee, and we shall wait and see how it goes. But this is a hit and run tour. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. It's truncated, no warm-up games, and the big question tonight here in Bolton is, will the Australians pay the ultimate price and go home for the first time in 30 years without those ashes. Well, we now have the national anthems of the two nations, and just as last week at Huddersfield, they're going to be sung by Chris Fennessy, star of Les Mis in the West End of London.
Let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, our beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains and let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Chris Fennessy with Advance Australia Fair, and coming up now, the national anthem.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save our Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save our Queen.
We're just about ready then. Steve-O, can Great Britain do it?
They certainly can, but they have to work hard for the entire 80 minutes. We saw for a purple patch in the first test what Australia are capable of doing. That 10 minutes, they scored two outstanding team tries. Remember, we had to rely heavily on the individual skills of Paul Sculthorpe. But as everyone has been saying, especially the Great Britain coach David Wade, the Aussies will improve, of course they will. It was most unlike an Australian side making too many errors, but Great Britain have a lot of room for improvement too, and I think we will see this tonight, but this is going to be a tough opener. Don't worry, they've got to make these young Aussies realise they are in a tough test match, and that spells fireworks in the opening 10-15.
Bill Harrigan knows that as well. It's going to be Great Britain who will kick off. They will attack as we watch from right to left in this first half. Britain, of course, got off to the perfect start last week. A try within the first 2 minutes for Jamie Peacock, which just happened to earn his amateur club Stanningley a £1,000 bonus from the series sponsors. So they profited, and Great Britain profited for a quick silver start. Can they do it again? Paul Sculthorpe with the kick-off. This second Guinness test is underway. Trent Barrett tips the ball inside. Here's Robbie Kearns, and leading the way inevitably was Barry McDermott.
And what a hit it was from the prop forward. It's so important to get a good smash in early.
And McDermott did that. Johns gets it away though to Kennedy. Connolly is there to haul him down with a little bit of help from Leon Price.
See different tactics there. You could see the utilising the dummy run of the Australians very early in the possession. And it was Kennedy that was looping on the second phase.
A high up and under from Andrew Johns. Radlinski is after this. He got the call in, he got the ball as well. Well taken by the British fullback. Now they will have use of the football for the first time.
That'll lift not only the fullback's confidence, but also his teammates. It was a real tester. They had to make the fullback run for it. In the first test, Australia's kicking game was all awry.
And here is Farrell in centre field. He bounces off Johns. Good tackling though by Johns and Kennedy. Great Britain still inside their own half of the field. Forshaw, so important, gets the ball away to Farrell. Keeps the movement going here to Sculthorpe, who cuts down the middle. A lot of the talk in the Australian camp this week has been about how to stop Sculthorpe, how to stop Farrell. That seems to be the Aussies' game plan. Hoist to the far side from Farrell, a bit too deep though. It's a tester for and Takiri with no pressure on him whatsoever takes it.
Just a little bit too deep there from the Great Britain captain. But you can see quite clearly that Takiri, who had a bit of a nightmare in that first test, he's going to be the man targeted yet again tonight, and rightly so.
Kennedy will bring the ball up the middle. Good tackle, though, by Andrew Farrell. There is Chris Anderson, the Australian coach. Now the 36th member of the Halifax Hall of Fame. A dinner for the 1987-88 Wembley teams on Wednesday night, and Anderson was inducted into the Blue Sox Hall of Fame down there at the Shea. Here is Johns. Dab over the top, and it's behind Johnson, and he has to scurry back, and he gets it close to his own try line. Good chase here, but he did well to get away from Gidley, and in the end he's collared by Badeiras, who was hunting.
Good struggle by the winner there. Well, Johnson, it's important, and yet we saw a much better kick yet again from the Australians. Well, you can hear all the crowd booing. Bill Halligan said he'd taken back 10. He criticised Connor last week, and boy oh boy, it's a pretty short 10 for them.
Well, he made his comments in the papers, and Mr. Harrigan will falter or will prosper on his performance tonight. Sculthorpe with the kick, but it's a hoof just straight down the middle, and Lockyer has it, and he has plenty of open territory ahead of him. Runs the ball back, gets a good ball away to Takiri, but that's well done by Leon Price. He stood his ground, and with Sculthorpe, the winger hit the deck.
Bit ominous though, Eddie. The two kicks that Great Britain have had, not the very best. The ones that have come from Australia, they've been tip-top.
Here is Kennedy. Cuts inside. Joint stood his ground with O'Connor. Kennedy takes the tackle.
And what work Joint did in that first test. In the first half, 23 tackles. Repeat, please, Mr. Joint.
A flicked out the back door pass from Riles. Kearns onto Barrett, and he got it away to Carlaw. Good tackling by Kevin Sinfield on Carlaw. Fittler will go left. He finds Johns with the stab through. Radlinski was waiting. Good position from the British fullback there.
He's not classified as the best in the world, Radlinski. And that's the reason why I think his opposite number, Darren Lockyer, who was not at his best in that first test. He was outplayed by Radlinski. And they've been looking for a better performance from Lockyer, but Radlinski, he reads the game ever so well.
Farrell, good ball on the inside.
What a hit.
Big hit by Kennedy.
Helped out by Robbie Kearns, and the fullback felt it.
Here's Forshaw now. Oh, he gets the ball away. It was risky, and Sculthorpe did well and bravely got down on all fours to pick that ball up. And Farrell with the angled kick. Again to target Takiri, but this time the hands are safe. And Takiri takes them on. Peacock is there. Connolly is there. And they ground him 10 metres inside his own half. But I'm with you, Steve-O, the kicking not been crashed on yet.
I've got the impression that there may be something wrong with Andy Farrell. If that's the case, they want to shift the kicking responsibilities very quickly indeed.
Big hit by McDermott. Jason Riles felt that. Here now is Badeiras. He gets the ball away to Kearns, who tries to make the hard yards up the middle. Halted, though, by the tackle from Kevin Sinfield.
Not surprising. Danny Badeiras running more from dummy half already than what he did in that first test.
Oh, they get the ball away. Here's Fittler. Fittler dipped inside Radlinski. First try to the Australians. They're back. The Australians are back. A beautiful inside pass, and Brad Fittler. He doesn't want to go home as the first Test captain since Keith Barnes in '59 to lose an Ashes series in Great Britain, and he's got them off to a great start.
We were very slow in the first and second markers there, and the combination of Andrew Johns and Brad Fittler and the skill from the Australian captain. Look at the step here. Beautiful pass there from the prop, but look at the step off the left. Not had the best season down under, but when it counts, he digs deep, and boy oh boy, the Aussies needed that. That was good quality play.
So Andrew Johns, 55 goals for Australia, make that 56. And the Australians have the early lead that Great Britain enjoyed just 6 days ago. Great Britain 0, Australia 6.
Total confusion, first and second markers, more intent in trying to talk their way out of it. And when they slipped back, you could see there that Sinfield was caught out. And soon as they sucked in Barry McDermott, it was always going to be on. They gave us a 1-2 sucker punch back on the inside. We failed to move up and close them down. Great try.
Yes, terrific try from the Australians. Kennedy in possession for them. Badeiros is the dummy half. Kearns runs at Sinfield, bounces off the Leeds youngster, and there waiting for him was Forshaw and also Terry O'Connor. Bill, you've got some news on the try scorer Fittler.
Well, a hamstring injury that Brad Fittler has been nursing all week doesn't seem to be causing him too many problems on the evidence of that try. Fittler has just suffered a bit of a tweak of the hamstring in training, but as I say, he's trained all week and he looks pretty good to me.
The left thigh is strapped, but not too heavily strapped. Here is Barrett, this is Kennedy, and Kennedy looks to get the ball away and does to Lockyer. Lockyer has got Radlinski, he's missed him. And that's a good tackle back by Sculthorpe on Robbie Kearns.
Had to be, it was a try saver.
They're still not done yet, though. Here is Lockyer. He's lost it. Ball is lost forward. They got the touchdown nonetheless, but the ball was lost forward by Lockyer.
Well, they're cutting us to ribbons. Not the best attempt from Sinfield there. He had him all ends up and just lost control of it. Big let-off for Great Britain there, and the two coaches know it.
David Waite, Brian Noble, and just coming up to 8 minutes gone, and it's a little different 8 minutes than we had this time last week from a British point of view, but Australia ahead 6-0, bouncing back as we knew they would. And look at the possession in the opposition half. Great Britain hardly over the halfway line yet. Here now is O'Connor to drive the ball forward. He was influential last week, as was Barry McDermott. This is the last tackle, though, for Britain, and the kick this time is from Sculthorpe. Over the top of McDougall, between him and Lockyer. Lockyer, the man who picks it up on the bounce, and he will drive it back, but only as far as Chris Joynt and Keith Senior.
Well, I think I've been vindicated by the fact that we saw there Paul Sculthorpe. Wouldn't have been a 40-20, but he was the man taking the responsibilities. And I think that Andy Farrell has gone into this game with an injury. They've kept it pretty quiet in the Great Britain camp, if that's the case.
Great ball. When they get the ball out wide, they look so dangerous. This is Jamie Lyon, but Connolly is there, and Price was a little bit late.
Well, they're good tactics by the Australians. They're not bothering to be sucked into a forward play. They're just keeping the ball and switching it as quickly as possible. In fact, they missed out 4 men there in 2 passes alone.
Great shout for a forward pass there, but I don't think it was.
No, nothing wrong with that at all.
This is Lockyer now for Australia. He gets the ball away to Gidley. He's faced by Senior. Out the back door it goes to McDougall. McDougall is grounded by Joynt, having a big game already in defence for Great Britain is Chris Joynt. Gidley gets it away off the floor to Johns, and it's a high kick to Tess Price. And Price waits, and he comes up with it. And he was under such pressure from Lottie Takiri there.
It looked for one moment there, Takiri took it. Connolly tried to put him off, but Takiri jumped high. Great take under pressure, though, and that's what Great Britain are under. The Australian side, they have come out with all guns a-blazing.
Yes, they were stung by that defeat last week. They have trained very hard. There's the first penalty. And Andrew Jones having a second snap at the ankle. First penalty of the match, nearly 10 minutes gone. Unrelenting.
Well spotted there by Harrigan. This will be relief for the Great Britain boys. David Waite knows it, because once Australia get into a roll on, they are very difficult to stop. It has been a complete turnaround from what occurred in that first test.
Well, Jamie Peacock looks like he's got a problem with a contact lens. The news from the sideline, by the way, Steve-O, from the British medical team, is that Andrew Farrell has entered this match 100% fit. Never been better.
Well, he's just astray with his kicking game so far. They've got to get that sorted out. But most importantly, they've got to try to move in on the angle. They've got to stop Australia getting this ball out wide quickly.
Not as dominant in the forward pack yet. And it's tackling like that. But McDermott gets it away to Forshaw. But look at the Aussies. They're swarming around the ball carrier, hunting the possession. Here now is Connolly. Britain over halfway.
Much better play. More enthusiasm at the play of the ball. Australia won't get sucked into a forward game. They realised that. And when they realised it was far too late in that game at McAlpine last Sunday.
Here's Sinfield. Wide it goes to Farrell. And Farrell drops his shoulder nearly over the top of Barrett. Cairns was there to finish him off. The kick off the outside of the boot was from Sinfield, but it was too deep. It was over the try line, diffused in goal, and so Australia will start with the tap on the 20, and Kennedy will take the tackle from the two props, McDermott and O'Connor.
Well, the idea was okay, execution not all that good. That's where we really had Australia going backwards because of our kicking game.
It's Riles. Sculthorpe got the tackle in. Quick play the ball, been a feature of the Australian start to this second test. And the ball hardly out of play, as you can see. It's going to be a huge test of the players' fitness, both nations.
Much better defence there.
Last tackle.
You can see how the Australians are standing ever so deep. Normally the Australians play a flat game with the forwards. Not on this occasion. They want to get it out. Oh, nasty bounce.
Awful
play.
bounce. Awful bounce, and Price took it really well. Radlinski's got work to do and does it.
Good tackle by Jamie Lyon, the Australian centre.
Referee called all the Aussies onside then. Great Britain then looking to work this ball away with Johnson. And the boos are ringing around the Reebok. They're not happy with the referee getting these Australians onside. That could be British bias, to be fair.
Well, to be fair, I don't know why they're booing. We need it. The last thing that Great Britain need is for Bill Harrigan to make sure they're taking back 12 or 13. That'll give the Aussies more space to play.
Connolly! Brilliant tackle on Kikiri. Now this is a little bit of territory for Great Britain. Peacock, they go down the short side. Sculthorpe comes inside. He has to take the tackle there from Jamie Lyon, the 19-year-old from the Parramatta Eels.
Must say, a mistake yet again from Lofa Takiri. It surprised me that Anderson selected him after the display in the first test. Oh, that's a nothing kick.
Peacock with the kick. It was very early. It was on the fourth tackle. And maybe he was looking for the speed of his Bradford Bulls clubmate Leon Price out wide.
Well, to be fair, the Great Britain side wouldn't realise that Peacock not noted a kicker. And when you come up with an individual little shot like that, it's not the best.
Johns gets away from Chris Joynt. He can't get away from Sinfield or from Peacock. Lockyer from dummy half. Here is Fittler, the try scorer. Gets it away. Good hands. Lockyer again. Britain aren't wrapping the ball up and aren't putting the pressure on the ball carrier as they did last weekend.
Well, they're hesitating in defence. They're not getting into their faces. And that's the first mistake from Gidley.
And Farrell has it. Brought to ground by Adam McDougall.
See, he just took the eyes off the ball. He could see that Keith Seeney was coming to him.
Gidley with the mistake. Great Britain with the possession. This is Paul Johnson. Whoa, Kearns was in there very quickly. So too was Trent Barrett. Ooh, that looked a bit forward from Forshaw to O'Connor.
It certainly was. It was right on the line. Just a fraction.
Forshaw now, better pass to Sculthorpe, and he finds Radlinski, who jinks away from Johns, and Fittler is the man in with the tackle on him. It's Sculthorpe and dummy half. He'll run at this defence, gets the ball away. This is Stuart Fielden, who's been pitched on. Fielden, who had a magnificent game last week. Great Britain are about 15 metres away. Last tackle, Farrell, wide and to the touch judge. And Paul Johnson, well, he would have had to be about 8 foot tall to get that.
Great opportunity thrown away. And as you can see, far too high. No chance for Paul Johnson there. And you can see there that Adam McDougall, so much experience, he was right in the face of Johnson. Even if he'd have taken that football, I'm sure that McDougall, who's pretty strong in defence. But not the best pass from the GB skipper.
A lot of people looking for Andrew Farrell to really stand up and be counted as a Great Britain skipper tonight. 15 and a half minutes gone. Australia ahead by 6 points to 0. In possession here with Kearns. Senior is there. O'Connor is there. Kearns makes a few more metres before he hits the deck. Lockyer off the ground. Johns with the kick. Straight down the middle though. Right down the throat of Radlinski under no pressure. Poor kick.
That's the first back one from Australia.
And here comes Radlinski now. A lot of people think that this is Great Britain's best option tonight to come out here and win the series, even though they have the comfort zone of next Saturday at Wigan. But a lot of people think this is the night for Britain. Well, at the moment it's 6-0 and 16 minutes gone on the scoreboard with Sculthorpe. And here now is Peacock. And Peacock almost through, finished off by Ryle.
To be fair, Great Britain have weathered the storm. I think if Lockyer had gone in for that try, instead of losing the football, it would have been extremely difficult for Great Britain to fight its way back into the match.
Farrell with a big high kick, and he's after this is Leon Price, but well claimed Takiri. And the big fella now will set off on a great run. Look at this fella go! Takiri is away. He gets the ball back to Johns. He's got support inside from Lockyer. Lockyer is there. Back it goes to Johns. This is a brilliant try. The crowd screaming for forward, but that is a truly brilliant try from Australia. Takiri took the high kick and launched the attack, and they just couldn't get a hand on him. And there were British players lying down like 10 pins. The skittles had gone, and from one end of the field to the other, wonderful handling skills from the Kangaroos.
Well, it was a high kick from Farrell. He gave them every opportunity. They had enough people around. Sinfield laid off. They all hung around. Farrell was caught. He had to commit himself for Adlinski, and Johns did ever so well. Nothing wrong with the passes. Might have been a bit of a doubt on that one there. It doesn't matter. Bill Harrigan said it was okay. You cannot let speed take its toll here. You have to get them down on the grass. They turn it back from defence into attack so many times to the Australians. That is a bitter blow to the British side. But a wonderful team effort from Australia.
Tries in both tests now for Andrew Johns. Lote Takiri, a try in his test debut against New Zealand at Wellington in July. Boy, did he produce the goods then from close to his own line that turned defence for Australia into attack. Now then, Andrew Johns with a very important kick. This for a 12-0 lead. And 12-0 it is. There's no problems for Andrew Johns. Fittler's try, Johns with the try, and Johns with 2 goals. It's 12-0.
Only 2 went through, Price and Sculthorpe. One Sculthorpe missed him. Look at Sinfield way back there. You can't afford to do that. He gets into top gear. You've got to squeeze them in. Give this guy space, he'll just rip you apart. It was a beautiful inside pass. And the best in the world certainly proved it there.
Sivanasiva has come on. A lot of people thought that maybe Sivanasiva would get a place from the start with Jason Stevens out suspended, but the vote went to Jason Riles.
Terry, extra step. Come on, mate. Back to me.
And the referee, Bill Harrigan, talking to the Great Britain defensive line all the time. Here is Fittler. The Aussies have got a little spring in their step now. They're 12-0 up. Here's Sivanasiva again. And it was Sinfield who got the tackle in on him. They're going to come right, and the crowd here has gone just a little bit quiet. Johns with the kick. It bounces, and Price will try and run this ball past the 2 markers. Takiri is there, so too Jamie Lyon. Didn't make too much ground.
Good kick and chase there. Utilising the space out here.
Britain, though, Steve-O, playing one-out football at the moment.
Well, they're being forced into it, mainly due to the fact that they haven't had a lot of possession, but the Australian defence is pretty solid.
Here's Sculthorpe. Now it's Joint. Takes the tackle from Johns. Also there was Gidley. Come down the short side here with Senior. They're tackling ferociously tonight, Australia. Sculthorpe, it goes back to Farrell. He steps inside the 40-metre zone, but again, it's not the best kick. Although it bounces a little unkindly, Lockyer is able to swoop on that easily and brings it forward only as far as Sinfield. Midway through this first half, Australia ahead 12-0. Great Britain must be the next to score, you think?
They certainly do want that point on the board, but they look, well, not as sharp as what they looked in the first test.
Noticed in the warm-up, Steve-O, they just looked a little flat. They didn't seem to have the same vim about them as they did 6 days ago. Maybe that was just looking through too critical eyes.
Well,
I don't know.
To be fair, they're not as aggressive. They came out so aggressive last week.
Here they come again, Australia, with Fittler. Lovely ball back to Carlaw. Good job that Forshaw and Peacock were there. Lockyer's the dummy half. He's more involved tonight. So is Johns. The kick out wide is for McDougall, but that's easy for Paul Johnson. Diffuse it behind his own try line.
Bit of a wasted effort, really.
And here goes Johnson.
Well, Great Britain need to make a break against this solid defence, just to lift their spirits.
And it has been solid. Tackling like that from Fittler, and also there was Lyon on the British captain Farrell.
To be fair, Fittler is leading by example. He's had a wonderful game so far.
Well, he doesn't want to bow out from international football.
Oh, that was forward.
Losing an Ashes series. He's made that plain all week. Sculthorpe plays the ball on halfway. Here comes O'Connor. The big men, though, are not getting over the advantage line as they did at Huddersfield. Last tackle.
Biggest problem with having, though, Eddie, is that the two halfbacks, Sculthorpe and Sinfield, they are not combining.
That's good play in the end. It's come off. It's still the last. Farrell will run it. They're waiting for the kick. He'll give it then to Senior. Back it goes to Johnson. Johnson, though, is wrapped up. Oh, he gets it away brilliantly. This now is Fielden, and Fielden will dump it over the top. And Radlinski will hack it forward.
What are we doing?
Jamie Lyon flicks it back to Carlaw. Great Britain lost the plot there, big style.
Real desperation, okay. It would have been a turnover, and Johnson got the ball away, and then there were an eternity to try to cover it up.
Just a panic. A real somebody pushed the panic button then for Great Britain. This is Brad Myers now. Got his chance because Jason Stevens is out suspended. Johns to Lockyer, that ball stuck. On it goes then to Gidley. Gidley gets it away to McDougall. Britain have it all to do in defence, and they do. Johnson and Farrell.
Again, we saw the skills of Gidley. Neat little offload to his winger, McDougall.
Barrett, beautiful ball. Fittler stands, delivers it to Badeiras. Off it goes to Johns. Johns with the stab through. Johnson is there, and Johnson will shuttle the ball dead, drop out from underneath the sticks coming up for Great Britain.
Good pressure kick as well. Got behind them, had to turn away under a lot of pressure from McDougall. Paul Johnson did the right thing. Didn't try to ground the ball, just shoved it away over the dead ball line.
What a difference 6 days makes, Steve-O.
Certainly does. And there's the flying winger Takiri.
Let's get down to Bill, Steve-O. He's got some injury news.
Well, in fact, that's Lottie Takiri leaving the pitch. It looks as though he injured a knee in the build-up to that last Australian try. A fantastic run from Takiri, but at some cost, because it looks like a knee injury. Takiri is off. That's some bonus for Great Britain.
Yes, Takiri is off, but Anasta comes on for him. This, meanwhile, is Sivanasiva.
But he got handed to the Australian coach, Chris Anderson. They don't want to mess around with too much forward play. They're taking it up for maybe one or sometimes two settlers, but it's zip, zip, zip after that.
Badeiras to Barrett. Farrell got to him. Important tackle that from Andrew Farrell. Badeiras then. Johns will switch the attack. This is Myers. Here is Gidley. Gidley gets it away under pressure. Badeiras back it goes to Sivanasiva. Britain are hanging back. And could be fatally hanging back. That's 4 tackles gone. Badeiras, the bang in front of the sticks. Fittler flicks the pass back. It's with Lockyer. Lockyer still, through the gap, and he's in this time, is Darren Lockyer. The British defence, I'm afraid, is not as rock solid as it was at Huddersfield. Something's happened to them. Or is it just the fact that Australia have upped the tempo? Darren Lockyer with the try. That's his 14th try for his country, the Brisbane Broncos fullback. And it, I'm afraid, Steve-O, is the same old story.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the build-up to it. We just panicked, threw the ball anywhere just because we couldn't get the kick away. Would have been far better served to allow Australia to have the handover. But what was happening is that when the ball's going out one way, the defence moves up, and then when it switches, we're hanging back. That is awful defence, not the best. I think it was Forshaw that missed him. But look how we're just hanging. We're waiting, but when the ball comes back, we're all stood back. And it was Forshaw, not the best defence. And easy for the Australian fullback. Well, our defence was so magnificent last week. It's just fallen apart at the seams. Get the needles going, boys.
Well, this is for an 18-0 lead. Johns doesn't miss those. Well, if it started off difficult, it's suddenly become almost an Everest for Great Britain. Lockyer's try converted by Andrew Johns, and Darren Lockyer's try makes it 18 points to 0, and David Waite with a little crisis on his hands.
I'd say it was a big one, Annie, because he realises that Australia, they're switching the play so often, and the combination, maybe not as such with the two halfbacks, Johns and Barrett, but Johns and Fittler, they're running the show. In fact, Fittler's running it as though he's playing standoff, and he's pushing Barrett out wide, but it's certainly playing off.
Well, let's get Sean McRae's view on the opening 26.5 minutes. Sean, it's all gone a little bit off the plan, I'm afraid.
Well, it's gone well for Australia. We've seen a role reversal, haven't we? In 6 days, they're getting tremendous speed of the play of the ball, and therefore they've got space to create. And we've seen some very, very gifted players do some excellent things. Great Britain, on the other hand, haven't had the possessions, they haven't had the territory. They've had no back-to-back sets this week, as we saw this time last week, and they're really using up a lot of energy and a lot of petrol defensively. They're going to have to get some points on the board before half-time.
They are, and Paul Anderson is on to try and add his considerable weight to the proceedings. Forshaw gets it away to Peacock, but they're just not getting over this advantage line at all.
No, they've got to change their tactics. What paid off for them last week, certainly not at the moment, but that's a good break.
Great break from Farrell.
We've got to be a little bit more creative as well. We've got to try to keep this ball alive a lot more, and we've got to have second phase attack. It's one out far too often.
Sinfield, the dummy half, but we're at the last tackle here, so Sculthorpe will have to hoist the kick. Now then, Price is tall. The ball is knocked back.
Offside.
He was offside.
We'll play the first knock on.
Green knock on. I got a green knock on, touched by White, then by Green.
Well, he's got it right, Bill Harrigan, because it was a knock on there, no doubt about it. And then you could see Sculthorpe just had a touch. Oh, I'm not so sure. It came off Price. Oh, well.
It did. That was my original thought.
I thought Anasta had definitely got to it. Either way, let's not be too critical of Bill Harrigan. It's he doesn't have the advantage of the replay, of course. We've got to score here to have any chance. I really mean this.
Yes, this is a must-score situation for Great Britain. Radlinski, great tackle, low down on him, though. Stunning tackle, stopped him in his tracks. It was by Trent Barrett. This now is Sinfield. It goes wide to Peacock, and Australia are there in numbers, but Peacock keeps those legs going. They're within 8 metres of the line. What would they give for a try? Sculthorpe, man of the match last week.
Great tackle from Freddie.
Sinfield, it comes across to Connolly. Connolly will fancy them taking them on, or flicks the ball away. Knock on.
That'll be back to 6.
Knock on. Oh, it's a knock on!
Oh, he's got it the wrong way there.
Well, he looked at the touch judge, to be fair, and the touch judge gave him no help at all.
He said that the touch judge says that it came off his boot. Fingertips there.
Well, maybe there was a desperation in our call then. There's a desperation round this ground. They're booing Bill Harrigan, but he got no help from the official.
Oh, I definitely touched it for mine.
Well, one way or the other.
Gidley's got away with it.
He has.
Bill Harrigan gets the boos. Australia won't mind. At 18-0, they know they're controlling this game. And Great Britain have to come up with something spectacular. And pretty soon, too.
Lovely chip over the top from Johns. He hits the deck like a sack of coal.
Great defence, though.
Radlinski read it well, but look at them swarm forward.
Well, they were missing those last week. And Brad Myers has made one heck of a difference to this Australian side, you know.
Yes, there were one or two people in the British camp hoping, actually, that Jason Stevens wouldn't get any suspension.
Well, he deserved the one match, that's for sure, if not longer, but let's not dwell on that. We need something spectacular.
Yes, Great Britain need a little bit of inspiration from somewhere. Will it come here from Sinfield? No, halted by the tackle from Andrew Johns. It's the last one. Joint gets it away to Farrell. Here's another high kick. Here's another tester out wide. Price is after this. And Price almost got it.
Nearly got to it there. Just couldn't hang it in.
Now this is the man they've got to put down, and they do this time. Sculthorpe. Sculthorpe on Lockyer. Fittler the dummy half. Away they come again though, Australia. And Great Britain now will hunt the mistake. is Myers. Good run from the big fella Myers, despite the attention of Sinfield and Jamie Peacock. Well, in 1990, Malcolm Reilly, and in 1994, Ellery Hanley resisted the temptation to change the side after going one up. David Waite has done the same again. He has named an unchanged team for the second test.
To be fair, though,
at the
Eddie,
moment, it's deja vu.
He would have selected Newton if he'd have been fit.
Oh, they've got space to play with out here. Lyon. And he's well tackled by Price in the end.
Did well to shepherd him right way out into the corner there.
Lockyer's having an influence on this match. Kennedy, fed by Barrett. Great Britain standing off. The crowd getting a little impatient. There goes the kick from Gidley. A tester here for Price. Oh, and he's come up with it. The substitute. Anasta has come up with it. And he's got the next try for Australia. Leon Price. The ball was pinched. And Brett Anasta, the 19-year-old, the junior Kangaroo against the junior Kiwi in July, has come up with his first try at the very top level.
They applied the pressure and it certainly paid off for them. Good work from the substitute Anasta. But look at the Great Britain defence. They've been mesmerised. They have not got into them. They've allowed Australia to control the game. It was pinched off Price. He went a little bit too early, and Anasta took full advantage of it. And I'm afraid this is becoming a little embarrassing, mainly due to the fact that Great Britain look absolutely mesmerised in their defence. Like Australia did in the first test in the first half, they were hesitant, hanging back, let's see what they're going to do. You cannot afford to do that. We knew our only chance was to make sure that we got well and truly into the faces and upset these Australians. Give them room to play, and they will enjoy it all the way to the Billabong.
Johns with the kick. It's 24 points to 0. And oh dear, what an anticlimax. Well, when you think about it, you know, there's no long. Kieran Cunningham is our guest in the studio. No Tommy Martin, no Adrian Morley, no Terry Newton, no Tony Smith, no Jimmy Lowes. They didn't have them last week either, to be fair, and we did make the point in victory. It's worth making the point when they're up against it 24-0 down. And, well, they are human after all. But, you know, when you name a list like that, Steve-O, it's like the England football team going in without Beckham, without Michael Owen, without Emile Heskey, and anyone else you want to make.
Yeah, I know, Eddie, but you can't come up with any excuses. The thing is, we did it last week and we have underachieved. We have not performed here. Australia, they have only missed one tackle and they have had 15 successful offloads. Stats say a lot, but the thing is, we are not getting to them. We are not ruffling their feathers. You've got to get into them. You can't just look at them. You've got to grab their tail and give it to them.
They're not doing that, there's no doubt about it. 24-0. It doesn't make pretty reading, does it, from a British point of view? Here is Joint. The forwards so dominant last week. They're being outplayed, outmuscled. Farrell. Still Farrell. Richard Horne is on.
That's a good move from David Waite because he needs a little bit snappier in and around the play the ball area. Horne will certainly provide that.
Farrell tried to dab the ball through and he gets the ball back. It was a charge down. It is 6 to go for Great Britain.
He certainly played at it with the leg.
Oh, Sculthorpe and Anderson nearly getting in a bit of a tiz, but Anderson takes it on just the same.
Well, surely a set move here.
Well, they've come down the short side to Senior, but that's terrific defence.
Is it ever?
On the fly it goes to Farrell. Here now is Richard Horne. Back it goes to Peacock. And Peacock, they just can't get through this Australian defence.
But even if just shook the would-be tackler away, there was no second phase coming in to support. And we've got to sort that out in the half-time break.
Here's Sculthorpe to Farrell. And Farrell gives it to Johnson. They're like running into a green and gold brick wall, and that's the last. They were caught in possession.
They lost the plot really there. They really should have been putting a neat little kick into the in-goal area. It was pretty high there from Senior as well. Young Gidley would have felt that. Gets up a bit groggy. At 36 minutes, it's a little bit late to start adding a little bit of fire. Bitterly disappointed that they weren't a little bit more ferocious, the Great Britain, at the start.
Great hands on show here, though, from Australia. Really is. And here they come with Riles. And eventually, Joint gets him to the ground. Buderus. And a great run from Johns and a flick pass to Andrew Farrell. And Farrell away from one, but Riles is there to finish him off right on the halfway line. Sinfield, here now is Senior. The ferocious defence from Australia has continued from the very first whistle. Here is Anderson. Oh,
big
now
problems.
This is Andrew Johns, and they have got problems. Let's see how this develops. It's Sculthorpe. We're going to get down to Bill Arthur shortly. This is Sinfield, just trapped and running down a blind alley, really.
Well, to be fair to Sinfield, he wanted someone to come back on the inside. There was none forthcoming.
Crossfield kick, goes back, picked up, flicked away, and Australia accept the gift. Let's get down to Bill. News of Andrew Johns.
Real worry on the Australian bench at the moment. There is Andrew Johns having treatment from the Australian physios, and he is in some considerable pain. It's a rib injury, left-hand side, and he's coming straight back onto the pitch, but he doesn't look happy at all. Just going to see out the rest of this first half, I should imagine.
Well, only 2 minutes to go, and that's why he will stay out there bravely.
Well, to be fair to Johns, he's a tough cookie. Not only is he skillful with his hands when he's attacking, but he's got through a lot of defensive work out there.
They go down the short side. Lockyer with a kick for Anasta to chase. Radlinski has lost it, and I think it's a bounce ball. I think that's a bounce ball, but Bill Harrigan will go to the video referee and he'll check it out. And Asher is celebrating, let me tell you.
I think this will be given. Radlinski is absolutely beaten. Oh no, Radlinski got back, did he ever? This will be a dropout from underneath the sticks. I think it'll be deemed deliberate fend by Radlinski. What a great effort in the end. He was deceived by an awful bouncing ball, and Nasta was swooping onto it. It'll be NOTRY, that is for sure, but I think we'll have to endure some more pressure. I don't think it comes off Anasta after Radlinski gets a fingertip to it. No try, that's for sure.
It's just a question of how we restart. Oh, and a 20-metre restart. So it came off Anasta. Ruled to have come off Anasta. And so they restart with a 20-metre tap. And here is Anderson. Well, they've got to hang on to the football. 24-0, the game almost beyond them already. But 30-0. Well, we may as well then go to Wigan.
Well, there's a long way to go in this game, but when you look at the stats and you see that Great Britain haven't made a full clean break yet. Australia are only missing one tackle.
Well, half-time came at the wrong time for Great Britain last week, remember. They would have liked to play on for the full 80 without a breather. Let's hope that maybe, from a British point of view, the same thing happens for Australia. It'll certainly give David Waite the opportunity to get at his players.
Oh, there's a mistake. That could give us an opportunity.
They are fallible.
Certainly a knock-on. But will they have time? The Aussies will take an eternity to put this scrum down. You can see the clock ticking away. And the try scorer, Anasta, comes up with a mistake. A lot of the crowd thought that it should have been a penalty because Fittler came from an offside position. And Harrigan has deemed that we'll put the scrum down. We may just get it. But the Aussies are playing ducks and drakes. They're saying, oh, we seem to have lost one of our pack. Oh, they've found him now. And we've got 4 seconds. It's got to be...
He's held the clock up.
Well done. It took an eternity there for Harrigan to realise that He'd have got the bird if he hadn't have seen the clock. It's going to be a kick and go.
Last chance here, Richard Horne. Enveloped and loses it anyway. Oh, penalty here, Great Britain. Penalty. It's not over yet. Penalty, ball stolen. 2 men in the tackle. One last hurrah in this first half. Sinfield with a kick over the top. Looking for Senior. Now it's half-time.
Certainly was, and to be fair there on the replay, Eddie, I think that Senior was well in front of offside.